There is nothing more soothing to the soul than growing a plant from a tiny seed, caring for it and watching it grow, then being able to harvest that veggie, bring it into your kitchen, put it on your plate, and then nourish yourself. That's the thing that called me to the garden to begin with, and that continues bringing me back. Hello, welcome to my channel. It is a cozy day here in New Zealand. It's raining out, I have the fire going, I've got little Lanka napping behind me. And today we are going to be talking about 7 vegetables that are great for beginner gardeners. If you are new here, hi, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Carrie, and if you've been here before, welcome back. I really am excited about this video today because I created that video about how to start a vegetable garden. Last spring, we planted a full set of veggies and we just kind of went for it. We didn't start out with information. We just kind of picked the veggies that we wanted to plant and we just threw them into the garden beds. And I get a lot of questions about what should I grow in my garden. We had some great success with this vegetable garden over the last year. I couldn't even believe how abundant it was, but there were a couple of vegetables that didn't make it. Not only are these vegetables the easiest to grow for beginners, in my opinion, but they're also the vegetables that I use on a daily basis in my kitchen, so they're really the ones that are very practical. I want to start off with probably the most obvious one, and that is big, red, juicy tomatoes. When we think about a vegetable garden, the first thing we likely think about are tomatoes because they are used in so many different recipes. Also, there's nothing like looking out to a green garden and seeing big, red, vibrant tomatoes hanging there. And then you harvest them, bring them into your kitchen, open them up, and they're just so juicy. And you're proud of yourself because you created that juice. Well, Mother Earth really did most of the work, but the tomatoes wouldn't have been there if you didn't decide to plant them and care for them. The big questions when choosing to put tomatoes in your vegetable garden are 1, how many tomato plants should I grow? And 2, what varieties should I have in my garden? Personally, I love a big Roma tomato, and I also really love a cherry tomato. I love having both of those varieties because they can be used for different recipes. When it comes to choosing how many tomato plants you have growing in your vegetable garden, you really need to think about how many people you have in your household, how often you cook from home, and how much you actually like tomatoes. For instance, Alex and I, we are 2 people. We have 4 tomato plants, regular Roma tomato, and about 2 cherry tomato plants, and that's been perfect for us. We cook from home on a daily basis and we love putting tomato into our recipes and our meals. My next vegetable is maybe a not so obvious one, but probably my absolute favorite vegetable that I have growing in my garden. And I never thought that cabbage would have such a special place in my heart until I started a vegetable garden. Not only is it a big confidence booster when you walk out to your vegetable garden and see a veggie this big that you grew from nothing, there are also so many different recipes that you can create using cabbage. It's actually quite delicious in a casserole. You can substitute the noodles and add in cabbage, and the cabbage gets really moist and noodle-like. And the beauty is you can use the entire cabbage plant in recipes. You can make stuffed cabbage leaves with the leaves of the cabbage. And another thing I love about cabbage is that it will grow in colder climates. So through the fall, it will do just fine. When we were living in California, we had cabbage go for a couple of years. It never died off on us because we never had a frost. And I know in areas where there's a frost, it can be a little bit more difficult, but your cabbage will last and will do well if you are someone living in a colder climate. This is an excellent crop to begin with. The next veggie I want to talk about is zucchini. Zucchini is a special vegetable to grow, and you have to really pay attention to how you are growing zucchini because you do not want to have too many zucchini plants. Alex and I, as beginner gardeners, bought a bunch of zucchini sprouts. I think the market that we went to just had a bunch of them, so we were like, why not throw in a bunch of them? We planted them and we had way too many zucchinis growing. We had to give them to everybody we knew. They were all sorts of sizes in our garden. We were so excited because it's just always exciting when you have an abundant amount of anything, but it also can be a bit daunting when you're trying to figure out exactly what to do with everything. Some of the recipes that I love with zucchini are things like zucchini bread. If you guys were following me during quarantine, I was making tons of different zucchini breads. A chocolate chip banana bread, a like cinnamon zucchini bread that's beautiful in the fall and winter. I also really love doing zucchini noodles and doing like a pesto zucchini noodle pasta, which is amazing. You can put zucchini in a roasted vegetable salad with quinoa. An additional tip with zucchini: make sure that you wear gloves when you're working with them, when you're cutting off dead leaves, even harvesting a zucchini, because they are an angry plant, I guess you could say. I got so many scrapes and just super itchy skin from working with my zucchini. I can be pretty impatient and I'll be like, I don't need gloves. I can just go in for it. And I always regret that decision because I end up itchy for a couple of days afterwards. I'm going to cheat for my next vegetable because I'm going to put leafy lettuce and kale in the same category. And I'm doing this because they're pretty much a leafy green, right? But they actually are quite different in the garden. Leafy greens like your romaine lettuce can be a little bit more fickle than kale. Kale, hardy. It will last years, especially if you are living in an area that doesn't have frost. In California, we essentially had kale going all year long, and we might be able to pull that off here in New Zealand too. Kale almost turns into a tree. It grows upward and the stalk becomes super thick. It's really hardy and such a beautiful thing to have in your garden because it is truly a very easy leafy green to grow, and you can use kale for so many different things. Kale is also wonderfully good for you. It has vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin K, so pretty much the whole alphabet of vitamins. The only thing I would say, an additional tip when it comes to kale, is that aphids love kale. So aphids are these little tiny bugs that live on the backside of the kale. They kind of like burrow into the kale. If you don't like bugs, this is probably the hard part of gardening because they do exist in your garden, especially if you want to grow organically and without using any chemical pesticide. I do have a homemade pesticide that's really easy to do and it works wonders on your garden, especially kale. I had a lot of aphids. We used that homemade pesticide and it actually helped so much. So you can go to my Instagram, it's @CarrieRad. You can go to my vegetable garden highlight and click through that, and I have the recipe there. You can also find the recipe at my website, carrierad.com. I'm pretty sure I have a blog post on exactly how to do that homemade pesticide there as well. Kale is easier to grow than your traditional regular like romaine or butter lettuce just because those are a little bit more fragile and finicky. They're really particular about the temperature outside. They love like the springtime and maybe the early part of summer to mid. They can get a little bit too hot and they can get too cold, obviously. So they're a little bit more finicky, but they're well worth putting them into your garden because obviously you can use lettuce for so many things. And if you're gonna have all these wonderful veggies that are great for a fresh like yard to table salad, you've gotta have some beautiful fresh leafy greens for that salad. My next recommendation are peppers. There are tons of different peppers that you can have growing in your garden. You can have jalapenos, you can have poblano, you can have regular chili. There are so many different options, and what I really love about growing peppers, one, not only are they quite easy to grow, especially in warmer climates, but they are very unique in terms of their taste, right? There's not much that you can grow that has that brilliant spicy taste to it. Also, the fun thing about peppers are that there are so many different options. There are so many different types of peppers and chilies to have in your garden. So how many you have in your garden probably just really depends on how much of a variety You want also how much you like spice. I know for us, we loved having extra because we would pull it off, we would bring it into the kitchen, and we would create ground chili or chili flakes that you buy at the grocery store, and we didn't have to purchase that because we could make it at home. Speaking of a little bit of spice and a unique taste, I really love growing green onion or spring onion in my garden. It's one of the first things that I planted. We probably use this vegetable the most when cooking because you can really put it on absolutely everything. Onion is more difficult to grow, just straight up onion. And a lot of people go for it right away. It takes longer to develop and it's actually quite fickle and difficult. It really wants specific temperature, and we personally had a harder time growing onion. But when it came to spring onion or your green onion, it is extremely easy to grow. You can actually take the bulbs and you can grow it right in your kitchen. So if you don't have a vegetable garden, you have a couple of herbs on your windowsill, try taking the bulb of green onion, putting it into some water, and it'll actually grow itself right there in your kitchen. And lastly, but certainly not least, especially lately for me, I have been eating cucumber like crazy. I love it. Another one of those super juicy vegetables that when you bring them into the kitchen from the garden and you cut one open, you're just like, I created this juice with the water I've been giving these plants, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful vegetable, and it's so fresh. And it can go into so many things that instantly make whatever dish you're putting it into even more fresh. I love doing a cucumber and tomato salad, just super simple with some feta. I love putting cucumber into any Mediterranean dish, like if I'm doing a Mediterranean chicken with some yogurt in a wrap, I love having cucumber as an option there. Cucumber is another one of those plants where it grows quite abundantly and quite big. It's like a big vine plant and it likes to grow upwards. So you'll want to have some sort of trellis above your cucumber. If you let it just kind of grow outwards in your garden, it will probably rot and it won't grow the best. Zucchini and cucumber are companion plants, and companion plants are actual vegetables that like to grow near each other in the garden. And like I said in my How to Build a Vegetable Garden video, veggies can be quite like humans. There are specific people that they like, or veggies that they like being near, and that they grow better when they are near this specific person. And then there are some plants that are not good for them, just like toxic people for humans, where we aren't doing our best when we are around them. Basil and tomato, for example, they love being next to each other in the garden. Basil actually protects tomato in some ways from different pests that really love that beautiful, juicy fruit coming off of the plant. If you plan on growing both zucchini and cucumber, then maybe find a place in your garden where they both have enough space to grow, but they're near each other. Thank you all for joining Lanka and I by the fire on this beautiful rainy day to chat about veggies and vegetable gardens and all of that good stuff. I enjoyed having this time with you guys. I hope that you have a great season of gardening if you are starting off for the first time this spring. Growing veggies and fruit and just food in general, it's such a wonderful thing for us human beings to understand the process of. We consume food every single day, of course, and our most nutritious food comes from soil in the ground, and it is so great to understand that process from A to Z. Before you go, please make sure that you are subscribed to my channel and that you have your notifications turned on for me so that you never miss a new video from me. And if you guys liked this video and you want to see more gardening content from me, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys very soon in a new video. Thanks for watching. Bye.